And I'll let you guys know too, just before we start, that if I'll keep everyone on mute just during the webinar. It's just a bit easier that way. It avoids background noise and stuff. But if any of you guys want to ask any questions at the end, it'll probably be easiest to use the questions or the chat function again, and just type me a question about anything you want to ask, really, whether it's to do with this module and completing the sales documents or anything really. Just yeah, wait till the end of the webinar, shoot me through any questions or messages, and I'm happy to respond while we're here today. That'd be good. So yeah, as I said, just give me 1 or 2 very quick minutes and we'll be good to go. Vicky, Miranda, Narelle, thanks guys. Okay, might get started, I think. So yep, it all looks good. So thanks everyone for attending. Hopefully we'll get a bit out of today and a bit of an idea about how to complete module 2. So let's basically we'll work through each assessment task. I've done some notes on each. So yeah, it's a step-by-step process, but also too, I'm trying to do it generically for all 3 states, which is New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria. So there's slight changes in documentation and some of the policies and procedures, I guess you'd say, in the legislation, but most of the time it's pretty similar. So I'll do my best to make it quite generic, but yeah, let's get started. So all good. So we'll just work our way through, have a look at the case study. So that's just saying, in your role as a sales representative, working at CitySurf Real Estate, you've just arranged the sale of a property. So based on the sale process, prepare the relevant documentation, liaise with the seller and the buyer to ensure a smooth sales process. And then here we've basically got the information provided, which is the seller, Mr. and Mrs. King, details the sale price that's been agreed, basically a verbal agreement at this stage, advertising costs, the fees, the agency commission, 3.3%, including GST, their solicitor. Then we get into the buyer, Mrs. Jarvis, her details and her solicitor. So let's have a look here firstly at activity 1, task A. Create a telephone transcript. So it's a written transcript between Mrs. Jarvis, the purchaser, and you as the agent. And you basically go through the process of confirming the agreed sale with her and the documents involved. So let's go and have a look at this. I did some notes for the telephone transcript. So yeah, as I said, I've highlighted the important parts there. And as I said, the transcript is after the sale has been verbally agreed to at this stage. So you really just need to explain to her what happens from here up until settlement. So with a transcript, it's really just a matter of, say, typing out Mrs. Jarvis and then what she would say, typing out you as the agent, your name, and then what you would say, and go through the process. So here's the main points I think are important. If you include these in your submission, you should be pretty right. First of all, congratulate her. That's always important. It's a pretty exciting time for a lot of people, so might as well start with that. Then I would say confirm the purchase details so that you can complete, well, it's a bit different in different states, but in New South Wales, we do a sales advice that would go to the vendor solicitor. In some states, you might even, as the agent, add details to the contract, depending on whether you're in Victoria or Queensland, but basically confirm the purchase details. That would be her full name, the purchase price, solicitor's details, things like that. That's a good start. Then explain the fact she needs to pay a deposit to the agency trust account as per the terms of the contract. Deposits can be slightly different in different states. In New South Wales, it's generally a 10% deposit. And in New South Wales, we also actually physically exchange contracts, which is a bit different to possibly Victoria and Queensland as well. But basically talk about the deposit that needs to be paid by Mrs. Jarvis. Then next we'll go to the cooling off period. Pretty much all states, 3 states as I recall, have some sort of cooling off period. So research that, find out how long it goes for, how many days, what's involved with that. Sometimes there's penalties if the purchaser does pull out during the cooling off period. So just put that in your transcript, that'd be handy as well. And then ask if she plans on doing perhaps a pest and building report. That's always pretty good policy. And really you'd want to be doing that during the cooling off period, just in case something adverse came in. Say you didn't know about termites or something like that, and it was really quite a big matter. Well, then it still gives the purchaser the opportunity to pull out of the contract. Not that you want that to happen, of course, but yeah, you really need to maybe talk about that. That's good policy as well. Her right to a final inspection of the property prior to the settlement day or on the settlement morning, perhaps. Most purchasers would like to actually have a look prior to the property actually settling. They've got the right to do that. And then pretty much ask if she has any further questions. And then most cases, certainly New South Wales, directed a visit with their solicitor as soon as possible to have the contract itself fully explained, because you as the agent are really just covering the basics, and especially the basics of page 1, all the details and any other terms, special conditions. Really, it's not our role to be talking about that too much. It's really just to refer the purchasers to their solicitor, and they can explain it. That's what they pay them for. And in New South Wales, again, that's so the contracts can be exchanged. Then basically thank her and explain that you'll keep in touch with her up to a settlement day. So if you handle and cover that in the telephone transcript, then you'll be pretty right. That pretty much covers everything I need to see. So we'll go out of that and we'll go back to task B in activity 1, which is now, please fill in the sales authority agreements. This is the agency agreement. This is the agreement that will actually be done generally prior to actually marketing the property. It's something you need to get really accurate, because that's your written agency agreement between the agency and the owner. If you want to get paid your commission when the property settles, the agency agreement needs to be 100% correct. An invalid agency agreement could possibly mean it could be disputed and you don't receive your commission. So really important to get that right. So let's just go through that document. Just find it here. Let's bring it up. Just make it a bit bigger. Okay. Sales inspection. I'm going to use the New South Wales report, given that I live in I'm in Sydney, so they're slightly different for each state. But again, the basics are the same. Just fill it in relevant to your own state. Slight little variances, but we're really just wanting to complete the information we've been given in the learning materials and maybe sort of extrapolate a little bit where necessary. So let's just go through the New South Wales one. But really, it's just putting in the vendor's details, names, Mr. and Mrs. King, and you need to be a bit creative here with, you think with any legal agreement, the agency agreement and the contract, it needs full names. So quite a few students just put Mr. and Mrs. King, but if you think about it, you really need to just create first names for both of them, and also for the purchaser, Mrs. Jarvis, because it wouldn't be enough just to put Mr. and Mrs. King on a legal agreement. So just create something there, add in the details. They wouldn't really be registered for GST in most cases, so you could probably put no. Put their solicitor's details there. Agent here is CitySurf Real Estate, and it is a corporation, so it would be proprietary limited. Your own personal name doesn't need to go on the agreement. The only time you'd have your own name on it is if you were say the licensee of the business and you're a sole trader and trading in your own name, then your name would go on it. But as a sales representative, the agent is the business. So CitySurf goes there. All the relevant details. Probably good to make up an ACN number, given they're a corporation, and a license number. Just create something there. They are GST registered. Then you have to have your property address in 4.1, so the full property address. Make that relevant to your own state. Then you could just be creative again and tick some boxes here for the included fittings. So, you might have curtains, light fittings, built-in, maybe range hood, whatever you want to tick. There's no right or wrong there. Just tick a few boxes, put something in. Here, also with agreements, don't leave any blank boxes. If nothing needs to go in there, just put NA, not applicable, or maybe nil. It's always good policy not to leave any boxes blank, only because you could have the case where all the parties have signed off on the agreement, you and the vendors have signed off, and if you leave blank boxes, well then perhaps vendors could maybe write something in and say that was in the agreement when you signed it, where it wasn't. So always make sure that you've put something in every single box, even if it's just NA. So down here, details of covenants, you could maybe put refer to contract there. Property is not subject to a tenancy, so you could put nil or NA. And then here, vendor's listing price. You could put the property was sold at 480,000, so I'm quite comfortable if you put 480 there, something like that. And then you've got an agent's opinion. You'd have something similar again, maybe a single amount. Property was, you think the property was 480, or maybe a price range 460 to 480, something like that. It's one or the other. It's either a single amount or a price range. Method of sale in this case is private treaty. And then let's go special terms and conditions. Again, just put something in there. If nothing's relevant in your state, just put nil or NA. Sign and date it would be good. Expenses, well, the one expense I recall was the advertising cost, $500. So it'd be good to see that there. Inspections, just be a bit creative here. How would property inspections be organised? Would you do open houses? When? What days? What times? You couldn't make any notes there. Advertising, how are you going to advertise the property? So obviously using internet, list some websites. Perhaps you might do brochures, flyer drops, something like that. You could, anything that's relevant, you can list there. Agent's disclosure. This is not to do with the actual agency commission. This is more to do with any extra or other rebates or discounts you might receive from third parties and things like that. So nothing's been noted in the learning material, so I just put nil there would be best. Date for a consumer guide, you'd give a consumer guide to them. Detailed bank details you can make up in need. And again, if there's nothing to go in these last couple of boxes, you can just put NA, that'd be fine. And then generally there's some sort of comparative market analysis, CMA. You generally use for the, your estimated selling price, you'd use comparable properties, so you could tick that box there for New South Wales. Cooling off period, if there's a cooling off period on your agreement, you can tick that yes, or actually it would be no, they haven't waived their right to a cooling off period. And then from signatures at the bottom, and we're done. So that's completing your agency agreement, pretty straightforward. So we'll exit out of that. Just go there. Let's go back to now, run to activity 1, task C. Download a contract of sale. So they're a bit different in different states again. I'm going to have a go at just going to open space and downloading our one for New South Wales. But again, just use, the basics are the same. We're really looking just to complete the information correctly with the owners, the vendors' names and the purchasers' details, etc. So quite similar for most states. Let's just see if we can bring that up a bit bigger. Playing up a little bit, but hopefully you guys can see that okay. Oh, I'll make that a bit smaller. There we go, that's good. Okay, the contract of sale. So really, it's just for New South Wales particularly, it's really the first page. That's what agents are involved in really just putting the, or noting the purchaser's details. In fact, with us, we'd still get the solicitor to do it anyway. In some of the states, I'm pretty sure in Victoria, the agent can put details down to the purchaser on the contract. But with us, unless it's an auction, we'll certainly refer them back to the solicitor to do that. But yeah, really just look at this. Vendors, agents, City Surf Real Estate Proprietary Limited. Vendor, full name, Mr. and Mrs. King, but create first names for them. That would be good. So I'm seeing a question here, but I'll get back to you, Narelle, on that one at the end if I can, if that's right. I'll have a look at that one because I said I'm in New South Wales, so I've always got to check the other states a little bit. But here we go, vendor, Mr. and Mrs. King with their full names, vendor solicitor, you've got details of that. Here, vacant possession, you could tick that box. It'd be a house, you could tick that. And then look, you can be creative here, just tick garage, something like that. And again, inclusions, just tick a couple of boxes that you think's relevant. Purchaser here, Mrs. Jarvis, full name goes there, so create a first name for her. Then her solicitor's details go there. Sale price, as per the learning materials, 480,000. The deposit in New South Wales, generally 10%, so you could put that amount there. If it's different in your state, just again, work out the figures, and then the balance will be the amount left over after the deposit's paid, so just do your calculation there and write that amount in. And then you can put a contract date down if you like, a couple of signatures there. No GST really applicable. It's just it's not a brand new property, it's a residential standard property. So I just leave that blank. And that's all we really need to see, just to evidence that you've documented the information in the learning materials and just been a bit creative with the names and a few details. The solicitors in New South Wales fill in all page 2 and tick all the attachments in a full contract of sale. So I'm really interested in page 1. So yeah, if you get those details right, you'll be fine. So let's get out of there. That's the contracts. There you go. Finished activity 1. Pretty straightforward. We'll go to activity 2, which is now the audio presentation. And I'll bring up some notes on this that I created. Let's just make that a bit bigger. Okay, activity 2, meeting with Mr. and Mrs. King. So it just says create an audio. Yeah, so just basically an audio recording. They don't even need Mr. and Mrs. King to be responsive in this. It's really, if you want someone to sit with you to sort of help you get through it, that's fine. But it's really just to for you to explain the sales process now that the sale's been verbally agreed to the vendors. So yeah, all that information there. It's also really handy here. Please include the blank observation checklist template. It's in your assessment, just so if you send it in, I can complete it and tick the boxes and upload it as a record of having assessed this audio activity. It's always good to have it. This applies to any of the modules that you do throughout the whole course, whether you're working your way right through the whole course. Always upload your observation checklist and then I can complete it and give you feedback on that as well. Okay, so let's go to the details. It's pretty similar to what we're talking to Mrs. Jarvis about, just obviously from the vendor's point of view. So firstly, congratulate them on the sale. It's always good. Confirm the purchase details with them. Again, their full names, their solicitor's details, the sale price, the agreed sale price. Then explain how the purchase, I think this is a good policy, is again with your vendors, just explain to them that the purchase is required to pay a deposit and that you'll hold it in the agency trust account up until settlement. And again, it might just depend on which state you're in as to how much deposit they do pay at the time, but in New South Wales it's generally 10%. Then explain that at settlement, once you receive confirmation that the property has settled, you'll receive, in New South Wales, you receive an order on the agent. It's basically a confirmation from the solicitor that it's okay to release the deposit monies. So then in that case, you'll release them to Mr. and Mrs. King's nominated bank account. And you can let them know that it will obviously be less than your agency commission fees and any advertising costs or other costs. So you would generally take that out of the deposit amount and pay them the net amount. Then you can explain the purchaser's cooling off period, rights and obligations, and just sometimes what would happen if she did pull out for some reason. It happens rarely, but I mean, it does happen. So it's important, I think, just to reiterate to the vendors that, you know, the purchaser does have some time where she could exit from the contract. Hopefully that wouldn't be the case, but just what would happen in case she did. And that would be, well, obviously in most states there's some sort of penalty. You could explain that to them. And then you'd also be chasing up any other really interested purchasers that were sort of waiting in the wings and try and come up with a really quick second option for them. Always good to chat to them about that. Explain you might want to conduct a pest and building report. In that case, they would need access to the property. And that would generally, again, would want to happen during the cooling off period. So that might be something I need to provide access quite quickly. Explain a right to a final inspection and to have the property clean and free of all personal belongings that are not part of the contract conditions on settlement day. So just say, no, to start thinking about getting everything ready, have the house tidy and ready to go so it can be handed over at settlement. Then basically ask if they have any further questions, and then direct them to visit with their solicitor. Certainly in New South Wales, contracts need to be exchanged. It's in their interest to get along to their solicitor straight away, sign their copy of the contract of sale, so they can be exchanged. But maybe, you know, in Queensland, I'm pretty sure parties all sign the one contract, but it's really just a matter of getting the parties in there, getting the contract signed, then it's legal. So you don't really want to be delaying for any reason, maybe missing out on another prospective purchaser that's been waiting there. The first purchaser, Mrs. Jarvis, really needs to get on if she's keen to move forward, sign the contract and get on and create the legal agreement where she's basically in control after that point. She's commits to the cooling off period and she can do her checks and move forward. So that's always best policy. But that should cover your audio presentation. Again, doesn't need to be too long, about 3-4 minutes, we'll cover it. There we go, that's activity 2. And if you want to too, just look at the observation checklist. That's what I worked through, but what I've just explained is pretty much what I covered. So if you do that, you'll be fine. And then finally, activity 3, confirming finalisation of the sale. So think about the sales process here. We've gone through the process, done the documentation. Sometimes students come in and email during the sales process after the contracts have been signed, but it's really, this is what's important. The sale of the property has now been finalised, settlement's happened. So these emails need to reflect what's happened at settlement. So use the template. I think it's a good idea to do 2 emails. It's just neater. We get into the email template. Maybe just download it twice. Do one to the purchaser. The purchaser's one's really quite simple. Mr. Jarvis, subject would be, settlement of property address. And all you really need to do is congratulate her. Congratulations on the purchase of your new home. Wish you well. Hope everything goes fine. Stay in touch, or we'll certainly stay in touch with you, etc., etc. It's really just a positive finish. She would have already had all the keys and moved in and everything by this stage. So it's just a confirmation. Build up a rapport with her, keep her in touch as a client, and just thank her with the email to your vendors. A little bit more detail. So Mr. and Mrs. King, settlement of the property address. Thank you for your business. Really appreciate you listing with us. Here I would list the disbursement of the deposit fund. So you could say, as discussed, we hold the deposit of X amount of dollars in our agency trust account. We will now deduct our agency commission of whatever amount it is, plus advertising fees of, and then we will pay you the net amount of into your nominated bank account as agreed. Wish you well, we'll stay in touch, kind regards. That's all you really need to say. Just include the disbursement of the trust fund monies, I think is important in that one. And then we're done. Then we've covered both those emails as well. And we've covered the whole module. It's pretty straightforward. The sales process is straightforward. It's just a matter of thinking through it. And if and when you work in an agency, it becomes second nature after a pretty short amount of time. But here we've now covered everything, all the activities. So if we go back to the top, that's the unit of competency that we're looking at, which these assessment tasks should have all covered. Requirements of property sales to complete agency work, so private treaty property sales. And we've worked our way right through the module. I'll make it just a couple more notes too. So just again, in your own state, if you're in Victoria, I know that you've got to use a vendor statement, section 32. That goes as part of the contract. That's a vendor statement to the purchaser. Queensland, slightly different policies and procedures again, and legislation, but really at the end of the day, if I'm assessing your submission, if you can just follow the guidelines I've given you here and use your learning materials, try and be accurate with what you're reflecting back from what the learning materials say, so your commission amounts, the sale price, do a bit of creative work with the names of the owners and the purchaser, and you should be right. So I think we've covered everything in just about half an hour, which is good. So I'm just having a look to see if there's any chat. If any of you guys want to just send me any quick questions, I'll see if I can answer them for you now in the chat box. But yeah, we'll try and do it in the next 5-10 minutes and let you get back to your day's activities, and I'll get back to marking some more assessments. So it was really good for everyone to attend. I really appreciate people attending live on the day, and it should be recorded, so it will be available for view in open space again. But I'll just have a quick look at the chat box now and see if I can answer anything. But if I need to, I can also, I know all you guys that have responded, so I can get back to you through open space as well. But I'm just looking at one here. Victoria's not extensive as a sales. Narelle's got a question. Extensive. Yeah, you just basically the authority that you need to use is the authority for your own state. So in that case, Narelle, you've just got to work with the documents. You're using your own documentation for your own state, just fill it in as best you can. I'm always happy to look at it for you anyway. I think I'm going to look at yours today actually, so I might get back to you on that. That's fine. Vicky said something. That's great. Ashley in Queensland. I'll just check that for you, Ashley. Actually, I'll make a note of that, and I might get back to you on that one. Ashley, with your Form 6. I'll just check that. As I said, I'm au fait with them all, and I've done real estate transactions in all 3 states, but I'll just double check that for you, Ashley, and get back to you on that. Miranda, use the Christian names if you're listening still. So yeah, just create first names. Just treat it like, you know, even if it's Mr. John, you know, and Mrs. Jan or whatever, just, yeah, definitely first names. In fact, you don't really, if it's that, you can put Mr. and Mrs. on if you want, but I'm happy if you use first name and a last name, that's fine. Felicity, thanks. Good. All right, thanks guys. The chats are all positive, so thanks for that. Yeah, I will, Ashley, I'll just get back to you through the message center if that's all right. I'll check that one for you and get back to you. I've made a note about that Form 6. So yeah, anyone got any other comments or anything to make, or good? Otherwise, yeah, I think we'll be done in half an hour, which is really good as well. Kat, yeah, thanks. Maybe not today, but I just have to, I'm not the biggest IT tech savvy person in the world, so we normally get them up in open space in a couple of days. I'll talk to the team about that one, but yeah, we should be able to get that up early next week anyway, so it won't be too long from now. I'll make sure it's available for everyone to view in open space. So I might have one more question coming up, so I'll just hang on for another minute. One more question, Narelle? Narelle, I'll get back to you on that one if that's all right. I'll be looking at that today. So yeah, all good. I'll get back to you on that one. I'll message you. I'll be there soon. I'll message you back. So all right, guys, I think with that, yeah, we've had a bunch of messages here, which is really good. So thanks for your attendance. And look, anytime you need some help, just message me through Open Space. I'm happy to answer any questions anytime. I've been an agent for 24 years. So yeah, it's always nice to get messages and see people entering the industry. So yeah, good luck with everything, and I'll keep trying to get some more webinars up for the next module, certainly the next few modules, a few weeks down the track. So yeah, thanks for attending, and I'll catch all you guys soon. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.